Good afternoon, everyone. We're out of court early today. We're in recess till tomorrow morning. Court didn't go near as planned as we thought it would this morning. We was all pumped up and ready to go with our witnesses. The defense had all their witnesses lined out, and we spent all morning arguing whether we was going to use these witnesses or whether we was going to proper them before they testified. And the government just picked off one at a time by either telling us they're not going to testify because they didn't have anything to testify about that was relevant to this case, or that intimidation of the witness, that they might even arrest these witnesses. So at this point, we have no witnesses that it looks like is going to testify. The defense team is going to spend the rest of the afternoon and the evening deciding what their plan is, strategy for tomorrow. We might only have Eric Parker testify at this point. That might be our only option. And then this case may be over within just a couple of days. Andrea, I'll turn it over to her and let her give you some more detailed information here on some of the afternoon's outcome.
So when we went back in, they had a gentleman, and I didn't catch his name. They didn't have him spell it, and they were saying it kind of lightly. Who they brought in a lawyer, and we waited for the lawyer to show up. We waited for the lawyer to go through with him and talk to him about his statements and what he's going to say in oath, his testimony, and if he was still going to go through with it, because if he does, he could be charged. After we waited, they brought him in, and the judge then gave him another talking to. She said, if you lie on stand, you could be charged with perjury. It was a harassment or something to that fact, where they're trying to intimidate him into not testifying. At the end, she asked if he was still willing to testify, and he said yes. And Eric Parker and a few others teared up. Eric was actually crying in the courtroom because he feels very strongly that he does not want anyone to get themselves into trouble to testify for him. And the fact that this gentleman was willing, even at the face of all of this, even coming in to testify, you're all of a sudden appointed a lawyer and sent into a room with a lawyer to talk to you about your testimony to make sure that you still want to do it. And then when you still decide, yes, I'm going to do it, you go into the courtroom and the judge starts to talk to you and gives you all these statements about if you lie, you will be charged with perjury and taken out of the courtroom in handcuffs. And even through all of that, he was still willing to testify on their behalf. So it was very good. Then they did say there were a few other people that were going to come in, but they were deciding whether they can do it because they needed all their witnesses to do their story, and only having a few may not come across as well as their entire plan. At that moment, Eric Parker said that he will testify. The judge was talking to him about perjuring himself and what kind of ramifications come from making your own testimony.
So what were you saying?
And he's told her, the court has left me no other option than to testify. And he wanted to go into the fact that if they are not allowed to call their witnesses, if the truth is not allowed in the courtroom, what other choice does he have than to testify? And she laughed and said, that's your right. You have a right to testify and you have a right not to. And then continues to talk about the perjury and the cross-examination. It looked like they were only looking at 4 more witnesses. So this trial could be over by Wednesday. They could have stuff tomorrow, and they're going to talk about jury instructions, and then into Wednesday, and this could be over. We need people down here. We need to see people down here. The courtroom was full today, but let's go for standing room only. Let's fill the other side of the courtroom too. If our side's full, we get to sit on the other side too. And there would be nothing that would make me happier to see that to see that side of the courtroom filled as well. I know after Eric said that he was going to testify, the special agent in charge of the entire investigation got up and left the room. So they're going to come at him hard and strong, and we need your prayers. We need your prayers to stand with Eric, to stand with these guys who will who will testify on the behalf of in this trial and the future trials. We need you to talk to your friends about it. Tell people. Don't let the injustice go by without being witnessed.
The witness, Andrea, is Garrett Frenner.
Garrett what?
Garrett Frenner.
Garrett Frenner. I couldn't hardly pronounce that name. That was the witness today that agreed to testify on the behalf of the witness of the defense team here and of the defendants. And he was standing strong. And you can tell that guy was nervous and he was scared. He's being threatened. The prosecutors were talking to his lawyer right there in the courtroom pretty bluntly. And they was also following that attorney outside the courtroom with this Garrett Frenner. I know it starts with an F, Frenner. And but this guy did not get to testify today because of the outcome of what all happened. If we seem just a little bit distracted here, we've had a marshal come up and talk to us and tell us that we might not be able to be up here when we've had permission to be up here in the last couple of weeks. They gave us. It was okay. He said it was okay. So they was kind of asking us what we were doing here again and distracting us just slightly. But the intimidation down here has been quite strong off and on. In the courtroom, the intimidation has been bad. Out here for the people that are flying the flags and flying the signs in support of the guys and the political prisoners, the intimidation off and on as the marshals change out hands every 2 weeks sometimes gets pretty tense for people, and it intimidates them not to want to come back. The Constitution isn't allowed to be carried in the courtroom properly like this. We have to turn it around. We was told again today that we had to turn around our constitutions and turn them around backwards to either enter the courtroom and even in the courthouse as we go through security. It's the injustice that's being done here to the American people. It's horrible. Only having Eric Parker possibly testify on the behalf of the defendants and himself in his case is horrendous that this kind of thing is having to happen. Threatening witness intimidation by the federal government, it's wrong. They're setting a stage that they want to set the stage to find these guys guilty of crimes they didn't do and all the crimes they have. So being told the battery might be going dead, so we might have to cut this short, but we will be here tomorrow again at 8:30 for court. The jurors are supposed to be back tomorrow, and we are not for sure what's going to exactly happen tomorrow. It looks like Eric Parker will be testifying tomorrow on his behalf, and that might be our only witness in this whole case for the defendants. And then we'll be going into closing arguments and jury instructions, and that's about it. It's all over, it looked like. So
today we only had the jury in the courtroom for maybe 30 minutes of the entire day.
At the most. They've got to hear opening arguments from Eric Parker, which he withheld his right for that opening arguments from the very first part of the trial 7 weeks ago. He reserved that right, and today the only thing the jurors got to hear at all were the opening arguments from Eric Parker's attorney, and that's it. You got to wonder what these jurors are thinking. What's going on in their mind? Why are they sitting in a room in the back, not hearing nothing that's going on, not hearing not even a half of the evidence? The prosecutors got over 5,000 exhibits of Facebook files, and they played and watched little bits and pieces of this, the scary parts, and we're not even allowed to have anything of emotion from any witnesses to express how scared these witnesses are or why their state of mind, why they showed up there in support, to support these people. There was hundreds of people there in the wash, hundreds, and Some of them came there just for a short time or just a couple hours, even less than 24 hours, such as Eric Parker and Steve Stewart and Scott Drexler. They didn't know anybody there. They came there for just a short time. They can't even bring witnesses there that can corroborate this and tell what happened. It's just the prosecutors and the judge today both mentioned, and I got to bring this up again, jury nullification. They're afraid that these witnesses might somehow bring up or enact some kind of jury nullifications in the minds of the jurors, and they said that can't happen. They do not want the jurors at all to. They said that they don't believe it. They definitely do not believe that jury nullification is right. The judge and the prosecutors don't, and they don't want the jurors to nullify any of this case on that standard there. We also know this case should be dismissed on several things that have happened in this case, and the judge refused. Every one of our motions today were denied. Not one single motion that we won.
Not just today, but every day.
Every day.
We don't get any of our motions going through, and the government, all of their motions go right through. So there's definitely a bias by this judge, and there's no truth, and there's no real facts in the courtroom.
So the judge again said, here's her exact words, the risk of jury nullification for the jurors to hear about different defense witnesses, that can't happen. And so she cannot take the risk of jury nullification if the jurors hear something from the defense witnesses. And so she would rather not have witnesses for the defense and deny them that right in case something happens of jury nullification. And we need people down here, again, as Andrea said. We need the courtroom packed out. We need outside packed out here. We need peaceful protesters out here, peaceful people witnessing this corruption. This, if they do get found guilty up here, the way the prosecutors want, we need people witnessing this so that when we have these appeals, that these things, witnesses that can file these affidavits and things that witness this. Because don't take it just from us sitting in the courtroom all these weeks. Andrea's been here every day of it for 7 weeks and hasn't missed a day. And she's seen this corruption. We need more people that are here. Her husband's life is at stake. They have children at home that Eric hasn't got to see in 15 months now. And this injustice needs to be brought to a light. We need more people out here. We've got people today out here from as far as South America, out of Colombia, that came in here today. A fine gentleman. We've got people from Illinois, Utah. It's awesome to see all these people here. Arizona. I know I'm going to probably miss some people. I know some people who are here from Washington, and myself from Montana. But we need tons more people here. Not just, and we got other people from Idaho here and even Ohio that's been here for months in support of Rhode Island. People that's been here supporting the men yet are still out there in Trump facing trial. But they're alone. And we all need the support here, the moral support. However you can support us if you can't come. However you can support, they need it out here desperately. They desperately do.
If you can't believe the injustice that we're talking about, you should see the injustice inside the courtroom. You know, when we come out and we tell you what's going on, it's a small amount of what's going on in that courtroom. And it's harder for them to continue this with the more people sitting in the stands. The more people that are downstairs, it makes it harder for them. The more people that can write and say, I was in the courtroom, I witnessed the bias, that makes it harder for them. So if you can, if there's any way possible that you can get here for us, we would really appreciate it.
We really would.
Don't forget the motion about Dan Love.
Yeah, Dan Love again, totally denied. We're not allowed to use him at all, absolutely at all. He was the main agent there. We've seen this in the Oregon trial I did personally, where the people that shot Lavoie, we don't know their names yet. Dan Love was directly involved in this 100%. That witness we need to bring in here. We're not allowed to bring him in. They bring in FBI agents that never was even there. FBI agents that all they did was sit on a computer and go through Facebook, and they was professional witnesses viewing things that happened after the fact, 2 years later. And most of the witnesses here were not even there in the wash. We're not even there at the Bundy Ranch. Hundreds of these witnesses, dozens of these witnesses were brought in against these people. People that were first-hand witnesses, such as the supporters there, are called lay witnesses today. They're not even allowed to testify because they might show some type of emotions that might set the jurors to think of jury nullification and nullify this case as they really should.
Not to mention that Dan Love was one of the main testimonies in the grand jury indictment.
That's right.
How can you be one of the main testimonies in the grand jury indictment and then all of a sudden your testimony is irrelevant to the case?
Yep.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. So, whatever help you guys can give us out there, I know we've got people from all over trying to help, different politicians trying to help, but we need more of these people to stand up and take charge and do their job as public servants should and help these men out, find out the true facts in the case, and this case needs to be dismissed and not go any further. It really does.
Has there been any march around the courthouse in protest of these decisions?
We really haven't ever had any march around the courthouse. It's kind of secluded out here, but we would love that support if we could. But there hasn't been none down here that I know of personally. But a lot of people standing out front, a lot of faithful people that's been here for weeks and weeks and weeks every single day, bringing water, setting up flags. I mean, I can't even go into all the details that they've done. There's been so much, and it's been awesome to have them. But we do need more people like that. We need to unite. We need people here to help us unite. Let them know that we're here. We care about these people, and we want this injustice to stop against these American people. We talked to one of the marshals a while ago, and I asked him about the sound of music. I said, we need a marshal like him that's going to not going to buckle to. He's going to stop this tyranny himself. And he said he knew about the sound of music, and he knew that one Nazi in that movie or whatever had turned bad against his family and stuff. And I said that's what you are. I said, why don't you stand up and make a point and not let this tyranny happen? Why do you keep bugging us and pestering us and intimidating us? And he said he agreed with me. I've been on good, friendly terms with him ever since we've been here. But we need to be good to them, but we need to put a bug in their ear that we're Americans. They're here to protect us. They work for us, and we want what's right for this country, the same as they should.
The power lies with we the people. Let's start showing them that that's the case.
Exactly.
We need thousands to show up here, please.
Exactly. Thousands. We need thousands to show up.
Send a message.
If you can't come, if there's no way you can come, there's still things. Share this. Talk to people. Knowledge is power. And that's what they're trying to prevent in the courtroom. They're trying to prevent that jury from getting any knowledge about what really happened. Knowledge is power. Share it with your friends.
Is anybody calling the news channels to tell them what's going on so they can try to cover this?
If we can, we need to call the news channels. We need to get them, challenge them to do the right thing, to report actually what's happening here, and not just bits and pieces of the fake news or the scary part that they're just taking a little bit out of it and acting like somebody's scary and threatening people. But nobody's threatening anybody down here. All of us have been peaceful. We're here to support other Americans that have loved their neighbor, that went out on a call to help someone in need. So, if there's no more questions,
And if they don't show up, there will be no more protests in this country if these men get convicted.
Our rights are gone. If you don't show up now and you don't do this, don't wait till tomorrow. It's over with. If you think you have gun rights and you have constitutional rights, they are disappearing so fast. They're gone yesterday. This case relies on the freedom of our children and our grandchildren and our future. It definitely does.
If the feds win this case, is it correct that anybody that's on Facebook pertaining to anything can be a co-conspirator?
Yes.
If you share a news article, you're in part of a conspiracy. If you share a video of a police officer assaulting someone that didn't need it, unlawfully, you're part of a conspiracy against the government. If you try to help spread information, you're part of a conspiracy.
They said today
if they win,
Let's go ahead. Yeah, the prosecutor said today that this is still an ongoing investigation.
Yes.
Anybody can jump into this conspiracy today or yesterday or anytime. It don't matter. You didn't have to be at the Bundy Ranch to be part of this conspiracy. You can join it at any time. Just by logging into this live stream, you could possibly, the way they're wording things in here, you could possibly be joining a conspiracy. That's the rights you're losing. The First Amendment's...
You're saying pretty much this is a direct attack on the First Amendment.
It's definitely a direct attack on the First Amendment, and you're going to lose your Second Amendment right that easy.
Well, and they were talking about in there today that you don't need to point a weapon at an officer to assault them. Purely having your weapon with you near an officer is assaulting an officer. So not only is your First Amendment, but your Second Amendment is also on trial upstairs. And we all know how case law works. If they get a conviction here, it's set in stone. Do you guys like your amendments? Do you like your freedom of speech? Do you like your right to bear arms? Well, we all got to do something.
Let's take it down here.
One other thing they told this one potential witness today that did not testify, Garrett Frenner, they told him that he could actually go question by question for his Fifth Amendment rights. That if he did not want to answer any question, he can invoke his Fifth Amendment rights. Judge Brown over there in Portland told witnesses over there if they got on the stand, they invoked their Fifth Amendment rights by just starting their questions. But here, this judge is warning these witnesses that they don't have to answer nothing. She never told this to any of the government witnesses. They just got to ramble on and on for sometimes days at a time. But this witness was told that he didn't have to answer anything. At any moment, he could talk and ask for a break. He could invoke his Fifth Amendment right on any question that he didn't want to answer. And that's been unheard of to me in any of these cases.
So this is an attack on the First and Second Amendment, and more specifically, the Second Amendment being attacked. Where are all the Republican politicians?
Exactly.
Where's the NRA?
Where's the NRA? Where are these politicians that are supposed to be supporting our rights and are working for us? We need them here witnessing this themselves in court. I got to look up a name later of a guy, a 7-term politician I was told about today from another gentleman here, that he's a politician from Idaho, and he's a 7-term politician, and he was arrested for sticking up for people. And he said this is why other politicians are scared. He was so subject to diesel therapy for 1 year. His family did not even know where this politician was for 1 year, as he was transferred for all over the country in federal prisons. And I'll get his name. I have it here wrote down somewhere. I might not be able to find it at the moment, but this politician's from Idaho, and he's a 7-term. His name is George Nelson, I was told, if I got the name right. And he's a 7-term congressman, and because of him fighting the IRS for the people of the United States out of Idaho, he was sent to prison, and waiting trial, he got put on diesel therapy. And they said the term diesel therapy was termed because of how they treated this politician. And for over a year, his family didn't know where he was at. The U.S. Marshals took him into custody and transferred him all over the United States with diesel therapy from prison to prison to prison to holding facility. And this is one of the reasons that
George Nelson, 7-term congressman.
Yep, 7-term congressman. And most politicians know of this case and are scared to speak up. But it's time they need to speak up.
George Nelson.
George Nelson.
Google it.
Yeah, Google that name and see where your rights have been lost a long time ago and why these politicians don't want to stand up. Why are they so scared? The BLM talked about being scared up here. What about the people? What about these witnesses being scared? What about witness intimidation? It's against the law to intimidate witnesses. We've seen it in Portland, witnesses being intimidated by FBI, and we've seen it again here. And we definitely need your support.
And don't forget about Jackson standing up and asking for dismissal for intimidation of witnesses.
Yep, Mr. Jackson, Greg Burleson's attorney, made that point clearly today, that because the federal government's intimidating these witnesses was also big grounds for dismissal, and that was denied also again. So I think that's all we about have for you today. We will be back tomorrow, so about noon again tomorrow. Approximately, we'll have another update, if not before, as soon as anything important comes up, but for sure by noon.
Could you put today in 3 words?
The biggest
Tyranny?
Tyranny. It's the biggest injustice and tyranny.
Tyranny in action.
In action, yes, for sure.
Tyranny on display.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, God bless. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing whoever can be back here tomorrow.
All right. Thanks.